Welcome to episode 36 of Pera's Playbook. Today I'm joined by Lauren Roy of the UTSA women's track team. She also competes with Team Ireland. Lauren, how are you?
Hi. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm out in Texas currently, so I'm hiding away from the heat here, but yeah, no, I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Yeah, it's probably hotter in Texas, but in here in Michigan, it's supposed to be like in the 80s, or well, maybe not in the 80s. It's supposed to be like 80 this weekend, and that's awfully weird for Michigan in October, being the
Yeah,
first on Sunday. So I don't
yeah.
know.
No, definitely. Like I feel like even Texas, like I know I've only been here, this is my second year, but a lot of the guys are saying that it's a lot hotter in October than it usually is in Texas. So I think everywhere's definitely getting hotter.
Yeah. It's I think a lot of places are supposed to be warmer than average this year, so
Yeah.
yay, I guess. I don't know. If you like the heat, then it's yay.
Yeah, it's good for the sprinting. It's good for the sprinting. So we're not
Yeah.
complaining.
You're actually our second track athlete that grew up in Ireland to have on the podcast. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
interesting, I guess. Had
Yeah.
multiple track athletes from Ireland on the podcast. Um, but we'll start with talking about growing up in Ireland. You know, I know that like American music and like American movies and stuff are all over the world. So like when you were growing up, is that what you listened to? Is that what you watched? The same stuff that everybody in America listened to? Would you listen to like European pop stars? What kind of music did you listen to growing up?
Um, Honestly, I feel like a bit of both. Like I wasn't really like listening to like one or the other. Honestly, my dad listened to a lot of music while I was like younger and stuff. So
Yeah.
I would just sort of whatever he had on, like I sort of just took to that and listened to that. So and he would have listened to like a lot of American artists, rap in particular, but
Okay.
yeah, so
What about like TV and movies? I mean, obviously the big premieres are from the US, but like did you watch a lot of American TV growing up as a kid, or was it mostly like European, stuff on channels?
no, it actually, not that you mentioned that, I've never really thought about that, but it was a lot of like American based stuff. I guess it's very cliche to say like High School Musical. That's like the big one. I was obsessed with that. I had
Yeah.
all the merch for the High School Musical movies. But yeah, no, even like television shows and stuff. I guess they were like mostly American. Yeah,
Huh. That's like just interesting to think about that you grew up in
yeah,
Ireland, but you probably watched the same stuff that we all watched growing up, or like
yeah,
listened to the same
yeah.
stuff. Huh. That's crazy. When I had the other, her name was Grace Furlong. She ran at, or I mean, she jumped at George Washington. We kind of talked about like how it's different growing up competing in athletics in
Mhm.
Ireland than it is in the United States. So maybe you could touch on that a little bit about like track. She mentioned that track really isn't that big when you're growing up for like Irish kids. So how did you get into it?
Yeah, I definitely like the time that I grew up in. I would definitely say that the focus was mainly on like camogie, Gaelic football, soccer, things like that. So actually when I was growing up, what I did was horse riding. I like until I was about 14, 15. That's only when I started track. And I think that is mainly because primary school, things like that, like sports days aren't really like track and field based, which I think they'd be more so here in America. Whereas at home it's much more of like a multi-sport thing, more like Irish-based sports, if you like. So there's definitely, I think there's just like less access to track and field over there. So it's a little bit harder to get into it until you hit like secondary school when you get a bit older, 14, 15. And it's really only when you start like the summer season, I guess, of like PE or like, like those sort of classes, they're like, hey, let's try track. And, like some people are like, I absolutely hate this. I hate running. And then other people like me, I was the weirdo that always wanted to run the laps. So yeah, but I definitely think that there's such a difference in like coaching, facilities, like just access to everything in Ireland. Like even to get to a track for me, it would be like to get to a decent track, probably like an hour drive,
Yeah.
which is crazy because there's one right across the street here.
um,
So
you mentioned camogie. Is that what you said? What is
yeah,
that?
so that's the female version of hurling in Ireland. So it's basically a sport with a stick and a ball, and you hit it and you run and you score goals. That's as basic as I can make it, but it's an Irish
Yeah.
sport, yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's
Oh,
interesting.
really?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go watch some videos on it now.
I guess so. Everybody who's watching, there's got to be somebody else who's watching that doesn't know it either. So that's the
Yeah, that
homework
there you
after this
go.
episode. That's what you got to do. The other thing I kind of talked about with Grace, and it's something that I just kind of noticed when looking at like Ireland competing at international events, is for track, the focus seemed to be more on like distance running than
Hmm.
on sprinting and field events. Is
Yeah.
that something that you kind of felt growing up?
Um, Honestly, a little bit, but I sort of just put it down to there was more distance runners in Ireland, so I feel like there was more opportunity for those athletes. Not necessarily opportunity, but there was you would see more of them athletes competing at a higher level.
Yeah.
And I think even just like, oh, because obviously I think over the years that sprints in Ireland has really come on leaps and bounds. Particularly like the relay teams, like you see like the mixed 4x4 team, that like the Olympics, world champs, doing really well. So I think there's definitely an increase in seeing like Irish sprinting coming along. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more distance athletes making those, major events and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's also interesting, but like you said, sprinting is it's working its way up,
uh,
and often when there's one sport that dominates in a country, and track isn't dominant in Ireland, it's going to take a while for some of these other
mhm.
you know to catch up, like
Yeah.
you mentioned the facilities, not having the same facilities, not having the same coaching, all that, just the emphasis and focus. It's going to
Hmm.
take a while for sprinting it's pretty easy for distance. You don't really need facilities. You can just go out and run.
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
mean,
thinking. Yeah. Like,
so
yeah. No, I feel like even because obviously it's like I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's because distance running, I would not want to be out in the snow or the cold
right,
running
yeah,
all that those miles. But I'd say maybe in terms of like performance in practice, it's maybe a little bit easier just to, go out and run like the miles and stuff like that rather than needing like to have your blocks out, your spikes on, like things like that. You sort of need more like an indoor facility, especially in Ireland when it gets to like the snow and the rain and stuff. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm sure that'll all come too as track grows in Ireland. It'll sprinting, like you said, it's catching up, but as there's more exposure, as there's success, like you were mentioning, different relays having success, as that all happens, you'll start to see it probably balance out to where there's not more distance runners and than
Hmm.
sprinters. You'll see it kind of balance out. So you said you started running at 14, 15. At what point did you then like start to take it seriously?
Um, Honestly, it was more just like for fun and at the start, like joined a club when I was 14. And then I think I was 15 when I won my first All Ireland skills title. So me and my mom just drove down. We were sort of like, okay, this is the first time I've ever been to this. Like, obviously, these events are maybe like 4 or 5 hour drive from my house. So my mom wasn't too happy about that. She's like, what are we driving down here for? And, like, I wasn't expecting anything. And I won the race. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is great. So honestly, from then, from winning that, it just opened up so many more opportunities. It works in like a sort of like a ladder type thing where you go from representing your school, to representing your like Ulster, and then when you win that, you get to represent Ireland. And it was kind of from then in that summer was my first like Irish vest. I was sort of like, okay, maybe we could do something with this. And from then on, I just, started taking it a little bit more seriously, looking into the coaching, nutrition, things like that. And, like I got some more Irish vests for it. So it worked.
Yeah. It definitely did. Now you're running Division 1 track in the
Yeah.
States. Before that, though, you were running at Queen's University
Mm-hmm.
in Belfast. So, initially, did you think about coming to the States, or was that like kind of an afterthought later on?
It's always been like one of my goals. And I think towards the last few years of school, like secondary school, I was like, yeah, I see all my friends come over to the States, and I'm like, yeah, I really want to do that. But I had such a good coaching setup in Ireland, and things were working really well, that I just thought, do you know what? Like, I want to do a degree in psychology. Queen's is great for that. So I'm just going to go to Queen's and keep up with coaching here. But then I honestly got sick with the facilities, the weather, the lack of funding in Ireland is atrocious. It's terrible. And from then, I just thought, do you know what? Like, other people get these opportunities and it clearly works. So I might as well, if I can do it and I have the opportunity, I might as well go for it. And that's what I did. So that was last summer in summer 2022. I thought I'm going to transfer my degree and I'm going to go to UTSA while I have the opportunity. And yeah, it's worked wonders. So it's definitely
Had
the
you
right
ever
choice.
had you ever been to the States before you came over for college? Had you ever visited just on vacation or anything?
I was here twice before. So I went on a training camp to Florida that summer. And then I also went to the World Champs in Oregon.
Okay.
They were
Yeah.
so that was a little bit of a taster. And I was like, okay, now I can see what I can have. I want it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, right. Like you see the facilities, you see the places
mhm.
You're running, and then
Yeah,
I'm sure it just didn't compare to Ireland.
yeah. And the weather, definitely.
Well, Ireland's nice, right?
It can be. We get the occasional heat wave and, the dry patch for like half a day, maybe. And then it just goes downhill from there.
Just back into the rain and the fog, and
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, I visited Ireland when I was in high school, and I feel like we got good weather when we were there, so maybe I just have kind of a biased viewpoint. From the little bit of time I was there, it was good weather.
Uh,
I don't
it's
know.
not the worst, but
Yeah, I suppose growing up living there, it might get old. It's like,
yeah,
I don't
definitely.
know. Growing up in the UP in Michigan, there's snow from November through April usually. I mean, it
Okay.
gets old. I
Yeah.
feel the same way. I guess if somebody came for a week, they'd probably be like, "What are you talking about? It's not that bad."
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely something that you get too used to. But so I
Yeah,
like to switch it up a little bit with a little bit of heat here and there. But
right.
yeah.
In Texas, drier, less rain.
Yeah, very dry. Definitely.
So let's talk about your time at UTSA for a little bit. Last year, the conference USA championships, you
Hmm.
placed fourth in the 200. Did you have goals going into that meet, like where you wanted to place, times you wanted, to get?
Yeah, I think so because we had the indoor conference and I didn't make the 60-meter final and I was absolutely devastated about that. So I knew that I had made the 200-meter final. So I'd sort of established by that point that was going to be my stronger event for that summer. And it definitely was. And got to conference outdoors. And then my goals were just try and make finals for both, score points for the team. And then I had just missed out on the 100-meter final. I think I was like 0.1 off or something. So I was devastated again. So I knew going into that 200-meter final, I was like, or the 200-meter heat, sorry, I was like, I need to make the final. And I did. And I ran a PR getting there. So I was happy enough with that. But yeah, that was definitely the goals were just to score points for the team is the most important thing at conference. A medal would have been nice, but this year.
Right, you gotta have, kind of like a, I don't know if you want to call it a revenge tour, but like you
Yeah.
kind of get that you were so close, you
Hmm.
can kind of taste it. Gives you something
Yeah.
to work harder for the next year. That's one of the worst things about track, I think, is how close you can be with, I mean, how perfect electronic timing it is. I mean, like you said, it goes down to like 0.1 seconds. And then it gets in your head, like, could I have pushed just a little more? Like, could I have, if I would have known that that's all it would have taken?
Yeah.
It's really, it can kind of drive you crazy.
Honestly, yeah. Because like you tell your friends and your family, you're like, oh, I came fourth, I came sixth. And they're like, oh, okay. But like the difference between winning and coming sixth could be like 0.1 or 0.2, like everyone is so close. It's
Yeah.
just, it's so annoying because it's just that little bit more. But, that's what pushes you on as an athlete, honestly. Just
Yeah.
knowing that you are so close, like you can do it. So,
Right. And then, like we talked about, pushes you for next year. You
yeah.
were that close. You want it even more.
Hmm.
Um, so is that your biggest goal is to, go out and like win conference, or like what are your goals going into this next year personally?
Well, we've moved up a conference this year, so we're definitely going to be against some harder competition. So I think my goals are definitely to place as high as I can in all of my events, and get the points for the team. We want that ring. Like we want to win conference. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's a harder conference or not. We want to win it. So obviously team points are vital, need those. But in terms of like personal, I think honestly, just trying to get my PR as as much time off it as possible is definitely my main goal, and to qualify for those regional championships and then the NCAA finals would be absolutely amazing.
I mean, last year you qualified for the NCAA West prelims. Did you feel like, did it feel different when you got to kind of like that little bit bigger stage than it had at other meets? Did you just feel like there was more pressure, now that you're in the prelims for NCAAs? I mean, there's a lot more eyes on that. Did you feel more pressure from that?
Um, Honestly, for me personally, no, but I think that's only because I have been an athlete that has competed at, on European world stage since I was maybe, I think 18, 19 was the youngest I was. So in a way, I was used to it, but I did say to my coach that because you get so used to the collegiate system here, like you're 1 week you could be running against like the best in the NCAA, and the next, it's a little bit of like a lower category. So it can be all over the place. And sometimes then it is a bit of a shock to the system when you go straight from maybe not the strongest conference in the whole of the NCAA, like to the West prelims, and you're like, okay, this is the best in the West of America. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a bit of a shock to the system, like I said, but no, I wouldn't say I was nervous at all. It's just you have to just put your best performance forward and do what you can. But it was a great experience anyway. I really enjoyed it.
Well, and having run on other big stages, like you mentioned, helped you prepare you, like you said. So that's good. Let's talk about some of those Team Ireland experiences that you mentioned, specifically the World Championships. I mean, aside from the Olympics, that's like the next one of the next biggest events for
Yeah.
world track. So, talk about competing there, being on the team and all that, getting to put, like you said, you get to compete for your country. That's what anyone always wants to do.
Yeah. I remember finding out on the email, getting the selection email. I was on the bus home from the airport from Dublin, And I think I was maybe in Stockholm that week before at the Diamond League meet or something. And coming up from the airport, and I seen the email, and I called my mom. I was like, "Oh my goodness, I made it!" So I was so buzzing to be selected, and just the whole process. The Team Ireland really makes it feel like a championships. You know, like you get your kit like all given to you, and you know you have like you live in the athlete village, get all your food for you, and they have like training camps, things like that. So it really does feel like a championships, and I think that's great preparation for the likes of like Olympic Games in the future, things like that. But no, like I think feel like Hayward Field is definitely one of like it's like a bucket list place to run for a track athlete. You know, it's like top tier stadium. So
Yeah.
it was really good experience just to, you know, actually be on that starting four, you know, huge crowds running against the best in the world. Like, you know, the likes of like Shelley Ann Fraser Price, they were all running in those relays, like, and I'm just standing there beside them. So yeah, huge crowds. Everything was just, yeah, it was like it makes the hard work worth it
Yeah.
whenever you get to experience those things.
It's kind of like interesting. You talked about the some of the other big runners that are there, and you just kind of like stand there and think like, wow, I'm at this
Yeah.
same thing as they are. People that you may have idolized or people that you see on the news for how good they are, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden they said you're like standing next to them.
Yeah, like the best
Yeah.
in the world. You 1 minute you're
Yeah.
watching them on TV and then you're on TV the next minute. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's got to make you feel good, like personally, just it's got to almost be a confidence booster when you see who you're standing next to. You're like, hey, I'm here with whoever. Like, that's,
Yeah. No, definitely. Because I think like within track, sometimes like it's a very I always say it's a very humbling sport because you know like you can't lie and you can't hide away from the time. So if I'm gonna have a bad session or a bad meet here and there, like it's on paper and you know it, the time is there, you know.
yeah,
So I think sometimes your confidence can drop a little bit and it can be a bit of a blow to you know like see a slower time and you know you think can I actually like make a career out of this, like can I like be the best sort of thing? But then whenever you like do put in the hard work, you keep going and then you get to those meets and you see that you can make it and you're with the best in the world. Like it's inspiring to yourself. And it's
yeah.
nice to be able to inspire yourself and motivate yourself. So yeah, no, it's definitely a confidence boost. Absolutely, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a little bit about track and like the mental side of it. I mean, that is the probably one of the biggest parts of track, obviously, is the mental side of it. There's so much that you can think about. And you talked about the times. I mean, like you said, you can't hide from it. It's there, it's on paper, and then you can just constantly look back at that and be like, well, I did bad that one meet, and you can kind of get stuck in your head. How do
Yeah.
you cope with the like mental side of track, or what do you do to kind of keep your mental spirits up?
I would say that I'm already kind of like a very motivated person. So I think very real in the, you know, like just because you have one bad day doesn't mean that like every day in track's going to be bad. And I think because as an athlete, I've probably had more lows than highs throughout my career with injury, you know, like not not winning, like you know, going into meets thinking, okay, I've got this, and I didn't have it. So most of the time, then I think that I can look back and reflect on the losses more than the wins, and think, well, I've come back from all those before, and I've gone levels above that. So why can I not do it again?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's all about your mindset. It can make or break your confidence. It can make or break your performance. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
a good mindset, like you said, then you'll set yourself up for success. And all the different successes you've had, kind of like you mentioned, once you're in that moment, it helps your confidence. But when you look back too, not even just in the moment, but looking back on the fact that, hey, I've been at world championships. I made it to the West prelims. I did all this stuff. Like that can help kind of build your confidence too. All the things that you've done you can use to help your confidence for what you want to achieve moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even at the minute where like the team we're going through like the beginning of our winter training, obviously preparing for next season. It starts in January, and like it can be hard during the winter. Like sprinters, we don't like anything over 200 meters, so we need all the motivation and confidence we can get. But it's nice to look back at and reflect on last season, things like that, and just sort of think, well, if I made the prelims last year, why can I not make the finals this year? And it just pushes you that little bit harder and gives you that extra little boost that you need.
Yeah, exactly. Um, have you always only sprinted? Like, did you ever, when you were younger, do any field events or anything else, or were you always just strictly a sprinter?
Actually, the first event that I did was high jump. And I honestly, even if I do say so myself, I was quite good at it at age 14. Don't ask me my PR because I'm not sure, but no, I loved high jump, and it was actually my very first track club I went to. Turned up, and I was just doing high jump for a bit of fun, and the coach was putting the bar up, but I maybe wasn't clearing it as well as other athletes. And putting things into perspective, I'm 5'3". The rest of these girls were like 5'7" at least. So I didn't look like a high jumper, first of all. And I think they said to me something along the lines of, "Oh, your run up is really good. Maybe try sprinting, like go to the track session instead." So I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was like actually just fast. So it just sort of happened from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, high jump started it all.
5'3" definitely seems more like a sprinter's height
Yeah.
than a, you never did like tried long jump or anything? I mean, sometimes with that quick speed, you can be good at long jump.
Yeah, I think I've long jumped at a meet maybe like 3 times in my career, all when I was like younger, just for like team points for things. But I'm absolutely not coordinated enough for that.
Yeah, it is hard. I did it a little bit in high school, and I don't know, for some reason, like initially I did okay. I was never good at it, but like I could at least get the steps down and then jump. And then for some reason, it's like as I got older, I don't know if I thought about it or too much, but like I just couldn't, kind of like you said, too uncoordinated. I just
Yeah.
like couldn't plant and jump, or like I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Like, I think maybe the last ever long jump meet I did, which is probably why this was the last ever, I just kept running straight through the board. I couldn't put it in my brain that I had to jump.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I
just
did the
crazy to me that you're running as fast as you can and then you have to add a jump to that. Like,
yeah.
honestly, respect to long jumpers because I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I did the same
Clearly.
thing at a meet. It was probably one of the last times I ever did it. Like I went and then like I tried to like stop and jump, but like I couldn't do it. So I ended up
Yeah.
just like screwing up my back or my hip or something. And I was
Oh,
like, Coach, I hurt. Can I not do my other two? It was my first jump too. So like I didn't
yeah.
do all of them. I said, can I just not do the others? Can I scratch on them, please? And he said, yeah. Because I had to hurdle after that too. Like I had to go hurdle. I was like,
Oh.
I'm gonna hurt myself if I try to do this again.
Dang. Yeah, I've never even gone as far as hurdles, honestly. Hurdle mobility at a walking pace, that's as far as I'm going with hurdles. That's a recipe for disaster.
Oh, I loved hurdling. I only did it my senior year because I was a distance runner. And then I
Okay.
grew to hate distance running. I just disliked it a lot. And I
Yeah.
wasn't that good at it. I also just like, I don't know. The more I pushed, I was like, I don't feel good. I feel so like to try and actually like place or something, I feel so crappy after it. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to do this anymore. So I started hurdling, and I had to learn it as a senior. I did okay. I wish I would have started earlier and been able to actually like develop at it, but oh well, you know,
Yeah.
everything
No,
happens
that's
in life for a reason.
true. That's so true. Yeah.
So it's fun though. I don't know if you ever, once you're out of your like competitive, you wouldn't want to hurt yourself, but if you ever just try it for fun, it's
Yeah,
fun. I don't know.
maybe. We'll see about that.
Yeah, I
When
wouldn't
I'm
I
like
wouldn't recommend
definitely
doing it like
retired.
now because
Yeah,
hurt yourself. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm just saying like it'd be so easy to just accidentally trip and fall, and then you'd like
yeah. I don't think my coach would be too happy with that.
probably
I
not.
have to practice tomorrow, and he says, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Oh, I tried to do hurdles last night, and it didn't go too
Yeah,
well."
yeah. You probably wouldn't like hearing that. It's like I feel like a lot of coaches don't like it when their athletes say like, "Oh yeah, I went skiing or I went mountain biking." They're like,
Yeah,
no, don't do anything to risk hurting
yeah.
yourself. So what are your hobbies? Obviously not extreme sports, but what do you like to do for fun?
Um, honestly, do you know someone asked me this the other day, and I said sleeping.
Hey, that can be a
Sleeping
hobby.
is my number one hobby. That's just because I'm so tired after, like, we have practice every single day. So, but I had my off season there. I took a month off, and I love horse riding because that's what I did as a kid for
Yeah,
years. I did horse riding. So that's what I did over the summer. And it was just so nice to like get back into that and, like experience that again. It was almost like nostalgic.
yeah.
But we had to cut that out as the training came back. Obviously, health and safety
Right.
for
Yeah, it
back again. It's a bit
could be
extreme.
one of those things where you get
Yeah, for
hurt.
sure. But honestly, on the side, like obviously I study psychology, so I'm doing like a lot of research papers and essays and stuff for that. So a lot of the time I spend reading like research papers from other psychologists, which sounds extremely boring, but I'm so interested in psychology, I don't mind that.
Hey, if you're into it, that's all that counts.
Yeah, but that's
What?
honestly, that's about it. Other than practice, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to do with your psychology degree when you graduate?
So I'll be graduating this spring coming. And then I think I'm gonna come back for a PhD in neuroscience. So
Okay.
that sounds very fancy, but it's absolutely not. It's about half of a psychology degree because it's only focused on certain things. But yeah, I think I'm definitely more into like the research side of things and the lab sort of side of psychology. So I'm excited for that. That should be good.
Well, you'll have a PhD, so whether it's fancy or not, it'll sound fancy.
Yeah, I'm patiently waiting for the day that a letter comes through the post box, through the mail. This is Dr. Roy.
Yeah.
That's the goal in life.
And then everyone has to call you doctor because now you're a
Yeah,
doctor. Like,
I'm gonna be correcting everyone, honestly.
yeah, if
The
somebody will say Mrs. Roy or Miss Roy, and
Yeah,
you'll be like, it's
no, it's
doctor.
doctor. Didn't do that PhD for nothing.
Right, yeah.
Honestly,
It's
yeah,
not for the piece of paper. It's so you can be called doctor.
yeah. That you're so right, honestly.
Yeah. What about your favorite food?
Um, that is a hard one, honestly. I want to say pizza, but
Okay.
every time I go out, I will order ramen. Anywhere I go that it's available, that is what I order. And that's
Yeah.
pretty random, but I'm so obsessed with it. It's so good. And there's actually such a good ramen place around the corner from us in San Antonio. And I'm there like every weekend. It's so bad. But yeah, that's definitely I think my favorite food. Or like, like sushi, stuff like that. Maybe
Yeah.
like Japanese style seems to
So
be what I go for.
nothing that's big in Ireland.
Um,
I don't know,
honestly,
unless sushi and pizza are big in Ireland. I just don't take them as being big in Ireland.
I mean, a lot of people eat it, but I don't, it's not like traditional. Unless
Right.
you
Are there
want
a
like
lot of
fish and
pizza
chips.
restaurants and sushi restaurants around, or do you have to be in the city?
A lot of pizza. There's a really good pizza place in my town. Um, but sushi and stuff, I think you'd have to go to like Belfast, like the big city. Um, but yeah, no, more here you would find things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
you
at
like
home,
more of the food that you have here than
yeah, kind of, honestly. Other than like fish and chips and stuff, that's the only thing you can't get here that you get at home. It's like
Yeah.
very Irish, I guess. Fish and chips.
Authentic fish and
Yeah,
chips.
yeah.
Yeah. I
So you
didn't
can't.
have it in Ireland. I had it in Wales. I didn't eat it in
Oh,
Ireland, but it was like a fishing village. So I was like,
okay.
I didn't have it in Ireland. I've got to have it while I'm over here. Figured that was authentic
Yeah,
enough. The fish was
yeah.
probably caught right there.
I feel like it's like a UK and Ireland thing. Like it's
Yeah.
not probably just Ireland. It's like a bit of both. But yeah,
Yeah.
was it
Yeah. It
good?
was like, it was good. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I was hoping it would be in this little authentic Wales fishing village, and
Yeah,
hoping they caught it, a couple hours before off
yeah.
the coast. I don't know. But yeah, it was good. It's weird though. When we were in Europe, there were like a few times we just like I thought we would only eat like foods, because I should say I was with a travel club for high school. So I thought we would eat like, I don't know, cultural foods to those areas. But when we were in London, we ate at like some Asian restaurant one day. Like we had
Okay.
like Asian food. It was good. I just like totally thought we would eat cultural foods for
Yeah,
like the UK and Ireland and all that, not Asian
yeah.
food. I don't know.
I know that they have like I think it's a Chinatown they have in London.
Oh,
So
really?
it's like a whole street sort of. It's like decorated and it has like a lot of like Chinese, Asian restaurants. So
Yeah.
it's maybe it was there. I don't know. I've never eaten
Well,
at it.
it was at the mall, at whatever the huge mall is in London, the one that's one of the
Okay.
biggest in the world. I can't remember what it's called, but
Yeah,
the giant mall. And maybe it was just because it was easy to take a bunch of high school kids to, like,
probably.
it's
Yeah.
probably a chain restaurant in a mall. Like, it was good though. I think it was called Ping
Yeah.
Pong. I think that's what the
Okay.
restaurant was called, Ping Pong. I don't know.
Nice. But at least it was good, honestly.
Yeah,
That's the main
yeah.
thing.
But in Ireland, we did eat like bangers and mash and like some of that,
Yeah.
generic Irish food that everyone thinks of. So I guess we
Yeah.
checked off those boxes.
Yeah. At least you got Ireland checked off. That's the most important.
Right.
So
Yeah. Honestly, I liked Ireland more than I liked Dublin more than I liked London. I thought,
really,
yeah, I would honestly, I probably wouldn't go back to London again. Like, it was nice
yeah.
to see once, but so busy, so kind of dirty. Like the tube compared to the Dart in Dublin is like so much different. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like I hear a lot of people who, travel from America to Europe and they do like Ireland, they do the UK and like Europe, like Paris, Italy and stuff. Like they say like Paris and London in particular are places that you really only want to just say, "Oh, I've been there and seen
Yeah.
like the main like three things." And like that's it. Whereas I feel like Ireland is actually just like even though I live there and I'm like sick looking at it half the time, it's actually like really nice when you really like look at it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely somewhere you can visit like more than once.
Yeah, I'd love to go back. I think the fact that like things are smaller, like Dublin, it's like 1 million people compared to 8 million people. Like, that makes a
Yeah.
difference. And I don't know, the countryside is beautiful, and like staying on the coast and some of that stuff. Like, I'd love to go back. And I was in high school, so I'd love to go back now that I'm of age to drink, and I'm
Yeah.
in all the old pubs and all this stuff. Like,
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the place for it.
yeah.
Definitely.
I
Ireland's the
I
place for it.
I feel like Dublin must have the best nightlife. It looked like just like an awesome town for nightlife. Like the river
Yeah.
running through there, all these little restaurants and like pubs and stuff right on the river, and I don't know, it looked like it'd be awesome to,
Yeah. I've never
yeah.
actually had like a night out in Dublin, but I've been to Belfast plenty of times and it's great as well. So
Yeah.
I'd say honestly, you could probably have a good night out anywhere in Ireland.
Right.
Like
Even some
everyone,
dinky little village just with a pub,
yeah, everyone's just friendly, everyone's having a bit of crack. So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing I've heard a lot of people say about visiting Ireland is like how friendly the people are to tourists. And it's true. Like, everyone was very friendly, and you don't get that everywhere you visit.
yeah, I feel like mostly in Europe, especially like a lot of places like France, places like that, people can come off as a little bit more, like dry or blank. Like they're not as like, they wouldn't say hey to you in the street or anything. But actually, coming here to San Antonio, everyone is so friendly. Like my mom came to visit me last spring over Easter, and like even she said, like, whoa, everyone's so nice. But I think like that's just like specific places are like
Yeah.
that because I went to Florida and it wasn't so much the case there, but some people
Yeah.
were nice. Some people were nice.
I feel like there's definitely, yeah, certain places you go in the States is probably like I bet New York City, they're just like a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
crabby people. I don't know. I just feel like probably Los Angeles or some of those places too, like the major cities.
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah. I was in New York over last February and I was only there for a week, but it was definitely the case. I feel like it was like London on a larger scale. Like, no one knows each other type thing.
yeah.
Whereas in like other towns, everyone's saying, hey, like everyone sort of knows each other. But there you're very like lonely type thing.
Right. Yeah, you could walk by somebody on the street and never see that person again in your life. Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of crazy to think about. I mean,
Hmm.
what was the town you grew up in small in Ireland?
Yeah. It's called Ballymena. So it's very small. Yeah. Compared to like where I am now, tiny. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I same for me, like growing up, um, I feel like there's two towns like super close. There's a canal that cuts between them. And um I think combined, like maybe it's like a population of like 13,000 or something. And then there's a university. So when the students are around, then there's like add 8,000 more people. But like that's still so small compared to no, like San Antonio would be very, or
Yeah.
Dublin or New York or any of these places. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
graduated with, there were 80 people in my high school and we had a smaller class, but still, like, I don't know. I knew everybody, I knew who everyone was in my high school graduation class. Some people they graduate with 3,000 kids. They don't know who
Yeah.
half of them are.
Yeah, that's crazy to me because it's almost like college,
Yeah.
like hearing that. Because in my high school, like in my last, we sort of do like our final exams in the last 2 years. And I think there was like a total of maybe, I think like 20 people in the full two classes. Like that was it.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
so small. It's crazy the
Yeah.
difference.
I feel like that'd be better though than like 3,000 or like two. Like I don't know. I maybe not so small where like everybody and everything that's going on in their life, but also maybe not so big as like I don't know who most of these people are. I feel like somewhere in the
Yeah.
middle would probably be better.
Yeah, true, true, true.
Like most of the people, but there's also some people you don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So that was kind of like a really random tangent that I don't know, but
Yeah.
um I had one other little thing on my note list. And do you have like a travel bucket list? Places that you want to go. Like, where's if you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go for vacation?
Right now, I really want to go South America, like Brazil,
Okay, yeah,
down sort of down around there, I think, because I've done most places. I've done a lot of Europe, obviously. I've
right. And it's
done,
easy to go
yeah,
between because they're so close.
yeah. Once you get there from America, like it's so cheap, but it's so easy just to fly between. So I've done most of Europe. I've done Japan, so I feel like that's a cool one to do over in like
Yeah,
Asia. I'd definitely like to do more of Asia though, because like a lot of people travel to like my best friend Chloe, she's going to Thailand actually. So like I'd love to go somewhere like that. But I think definitely South America is probably on my bucket list first.
yeah. Is there
But
anywhere left in the States that you haven't been that you're like, oh, I really want to go there? Or have you kind of been everywhere you want to
um
go?
I haven't been to Arizona. I think that'd be a cool one to go to.
Arizona's nice.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm really bad with knowing like what is in each state. Like I've done like Oregon, Florida, California, New York, Texas, so Chicago, places like that. So those are like the ones that, like Europeans or like people that aren't from America would know. So
Yeah. You've basically done the whole like outside. You've done
yeah,
nothing in the
I need
middle.
to go in the middle now.
Yeah, well, there's less in the middle.
Yeah. Well, Las Vegas would be quite cool, but
Yeah.
don't think that would be a business trip.
No. Probably not.
No, definitely not. But yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
cool to go there too.
Do you want to stay in the States when you graduate, or do you want to go back over to Europe?
Um, I'm not even sure yet. I think definitely for the remainder of my athletic career, I'd probably look at trying to stay in the States. Maybe like joining a group over in like Florida or somewhere in Texas, just for the facilities and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think definitely when it comes to, like retiring from track, that I'll definitely go back to Europe and see what it has to offer. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to, would you go back to Ireland, or would you're sick of that? You'd want something else.
Um, I don't know because I was always set on moving to like Portugal or somewhere like that. But I think now that I've had some time living away from Ireland, you don't get too sick of it anymore.
You kind
So
of miss it.
yeah, a little bit. So I think I'd be happy enough now if I was to live at home. Like it would be fine.
Yeah.
So
You know what they say, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
that's so true. And you know what? Like that's what's happened. So
You're missing that rain, that fog, and all
I am,
that.
yeah. Looking outside now and it's just too hot. I need that rain back.
Yeah, you can see the tumbleweeds blowing across the
Yeah.
parking lot. You're like, what?
Honestly, like where's the puddles? Like
Awesome. Well, thanks for hopping on this episode of the podcast. Good luck with your season and everything. Hope you can accomplish all those goals.
yeah, thank you so much. It's been great. Been very